how to nurture or develop skills in the students. But when we are seeing the government policies, for example, the things which are going in Telangana, I mean to say the Congress government, it promised for free buses for women.
Promised?
Free buses.
Free buses.
Free buses.
Yes.
Okay, so it is a good thing that many of them are utilizing it. But recently, L&T director, he has said that he is going to stop his, I mean to say, their metro services. So how far it is genuine, I mean to say, to introduce these free policies?
Madhukar, you asked two different questions combined. One is about skills of students. The second is the government programs offering too many things free. Let me take the second thing first, because I'm sure we'll discuss a lot on education and the skills and so on and so forth in the next hour and a half or so. So let me take up the second issue first. You know, if somebody raises the hand and the mic goes to them, we'll be able to save time. You know, you're right. Not only about metro per se may not be an issue, just to go into technicalities. It just shows how populism will ultimately hurt us. Metro is a good example. Metro cost this company more than 20,000 crores. Probably 22,000 crores are there. Of which only 1,700 crores was the government's subsidy, what they call viability gap funding. I have been one of the staunchest supporters of metro, because without good quality public transport system, our cities will be trapped. And given our vast structure, without a good quality metro, it's unlikely that the fellows who will go in cars will move towards public transport. So though metro is costly, for that reason I have been a great champion. But what's happened? This is one of the few metros in the world where private sector came and completed a metro construction. It is very costly. Per kilometer, it comes to about 300 crore rupees. 300 crores per kilometer on an average. And range from 200 to 400 crores. Metro is a very costly project anywhere in the world, so private sector doesn't come. And in infrastructure projects, returns are not very good. Now, we are all envious of people who invest in infrastructure. Actually, returns are not good at all. It's only long term, 30, 40 years. And minimal returns they get. So unless there is a love for the country, unless they are allowed to be recognized and respected as builders, they would not come in. Now what have we done? We made sure that the tariffs are very low, because after all, who wants high tariffs? We all want free everything. Now the tariffs are low, metro is not even able to recover its running costs. Forget the interest and the loans, forget profits. The running costs they are barely recovering. And they are losing annually more than 1,400 crores only on interest. About 5 crores a day they are losing on interest alone. They have to pay that, there is no choice. If you notice the metro, I only travel once or twice. Some of you might be traveling more frequently. If you notice, the frequency is not good enough. And when it is done, it is overcrowded. Have you noticed? Why? Before they increase the frequency, at least overcrowding will stop. Because metro has no money to spare. They already spent whatever they could and now they are bleeding. Metro is not able to buy new coaches. The reason why the frequency is not increasing is there are no trains they can't afford to buy. So they are trying to negotiate with the railways to give these trains on lease. And that's taking time. Railways who would want to give on lease? They want to sell, produce more and sell. So a classic civic industry syndrome. Telugu మనకి సామెత ఉంటారు గుర్రప్రాణ రాకపోతే రాజు రాజ్యాన్ని కోల్పోయాడు. And the horse was not there, the horse was not functioning, the horse was not functioning, no, the chariot was not working, chariot was functioning, the fellow fell down from the chariot or the horse, and then they lost the war itself. So because you don't have enough money to run it, because we are thinking that we are doing a lot of good to people by suppressing the tariffs, we are actually ending up that the city is going to be hacked. Every day new vehicles are bought, every day bumper to bumper traffic. And of course, other parties don't believe in rules. We think freedom means that we can jump the red light, overtake from the left, and do 100 other things, right? So life is becoming unlimited hell. Each of us, when we go out, our family members are very worried. Will they come back safely? Is it convenient in this hot, terrible sun? Imagine now commuting, how incredible that is. So in the guise of helping people, we are actually doing enormous damage to the people and the general society. Metro is a classic example. So in Hyderabad, it's not actually true to say at this point of time that the free transport to women is the cause of Metro's problems, because even without that, Metro is incapable of meeting the existing demand because they could not buy new trains. But as a principle, you are right, L&T chairman is right, because he used it as an opportunity to tell people. As a principle, you are right, populist policies will ensure there is no viability of a project. Low viability guarantees poor service delivery. Poor delivery means that all the investment is infructuous and wasted, the cost is incurred and being incurred without any benefit to society, and people get frustrated, cynical, angry. About women's free transport, I am somewhat ambiguous. Probably in India, I am one of the staunchest proponents of cost recovery and fiscal discipline. But women's free transport, I have some sympathy. Because the women's participation in the workforce in India is declined, at least until recently. India is the only big country where women's participation came down to 20%, one of the lowest in the world, lower than Saudi Arabia, lower than Pakistan. It is now climbing up again. We have to study deeper what exactly is happening. So in such a climate, the free transport is an inducement for more and more women, particularly from the lower classes, to be able to go out and be participants in their economy and society. That may not be a bad idea, but it can be implemented better. Now what is happening is, because it's free, I am told, I don't know what is true, anecdotally I am told, women are now traveling with gusto everywhere. They have had Lagadichi, temples and pilgrimages and outings, and of course work and education, whatever. RTC is losing money. The government does not reimburse the money to RTC. RTC is owned by the government. Now they will foolishly make a department of the government, so it bleeds. The budget will take care of the bleeding. RTC will not improve. So that also declines. Private sector also will not get the market, because the women are going free in RTC buses. Who will go to private sector? The demand has now become half. So private sector also will lose. So there will be all-round loss. The same policy they were implemented in Inculcating. They gave vouchers to women. And they said the vouchers can be exchanged for free transport in government or private transport agencies. Then they would not have been this loss. Overall business would not have suffered. So even a populist policy can be implemented better in an economically productive way to ensure competition and price. But in general, to make a broader point, Mangalam, I am glad that you raised this issue. I will mention some numbers. Forgive me if it's a little foggy. If you take most of the states in India, there is a fixed cost of running the government. That means even if you are chief minister or prime minister tomorrow, you cannot change that expenditure. That is employees' salaries and pensions, and interest on debt incurred already. These two alone in many states of India exceed the total revenues of the state, own revenues of the state. The states have their own tax revenues which they collect. Some of it collected by Government of India, GST, but it's their money, their share. And some of the money comes from Government of India as part of the devolution of funds. In most states, the state's own tax revenues are not enough to meet even these two costs: employees' salaries and pensions, and interest burden. Everything else you are borrowing. In some states it comes to 126% of the own revenues. It's absurd. It's downhill course. You cannot forever go on borrowing for current expenditure. You are all running families, households. Whatever the income, if you get, let's say, 50,000 rupees per month income, most of us make sure that most of the time we spend only 40,000 rupees and save 10,000 for our children. If you borrow, that goes away to buy a plot of land or a flat or something else, so that the future is secure. That's what all of us do. That's what our parents did. That's why despite poverty in our country, we are all much better off than our parents' generation. And their parents' generation. There is almost no family in India who can say that we are worse off than our parents. It's because the families are thrifty. We don't borrow for current expenditure. The governments are doing exactly what we did not do in our families. Recklessly, as if there is no tomorrow, because they don't care. If 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, the country is destroyed, the state is destroyed, they are not bothered. All they want is power today and enjoying the privileges and perks. Employees want their salaries, index-linked pensions, let the country be down. And each of us thinks that he is a hero. And that's how much he has sacrificed. The sacrifice is made by the people of this country, the taxpayers of the country. There are no free lunches. Nothing is free. It's not the grandfather's property or the chief minister or prime minister. It's our money. Our tax money. Money in government comes only two ways. Either we pay taxes and fees, or money is borrowed on our behalf by the governments. And who will have to repay? Revanth Reddy and Jagmohan Reddy or somebody else or KCR, they are not going to repay. They don't get a damn. If they don't plunder the country, we are very grateful. In most cases, they plunder, but also win. So ultimately, it's our children's future that's being destroyed. But because people don't have the capacity to look at the long term, we look at the immediate, today, instant gratification. The price paid by the country is humongous, and therefore, right now, the most important thing that's bothering me as a citizen and as a leader of a movement and an activist is, how do you protect the future of our country? How do we ensure economic growth? Even though democratic reforms, corruption, all these are necessary to fight. I've been fighting all my life, and another 20, 30 years, we'll have to fight to get something done. But first, right now, how to protect the economy? How do we make sure that we don't borrow for current expenditure, burdening our children, destroying their future? How do we make the government do what the government has to do, without which we cannot function? Because we elected a government not to distribute money. A clerk can do it, an idiot can do it. We elected the government to fulfill the functions that we cannot fulfill on our own, but we need them very badly. Most of the things we do in our households, in our families, is a family affair, a personal affair. Where you live, which job you will take up, how do you spend your money, what do you eat, whom you marry, how many children you have, which school they go to, what course they pursue, what job they will take up, what profession you practice, what business you do. These are all your private decisions. Nobody else is going to tell you. But there are 15-20% issues which are important for our future, for our lives, which we cannot do on our own. The traffic and the roads. No matter how frustrated we are, you and I cannot improve the traffic in Kolkata. Or Panchagutta, where I live now, Panchagutta Forest. Every morning I go for a walk. 5:45, my friends and I, we take a car to KBR car. At 5:45 in the morning, every day at Panchagutta Chaurasta, it's all locked down. Because we get a green. At 60-70 km speed in the perpendicular direction, the vehicles come. And honestly, it's terrifying. Every single day at 5:45 in the morning. You and I can't do it. We elect a government, we pay taxes to take care of that. The roads in front of your house. The drinking water supply. Hyderabad is blessed with Godavari and Krishna. And yet, how many people of the city get drinking water properly? We spend thousands of crores of public money to lift water from Krishna and Godavari. There is no other city that has the privilege of two major rivers at either side. And yet 40% of the water coming to Hyderabad after spending thousands of crores is simply wasted. The roads are flooded. 40% of the water. Our money. It's not their grandfather's money. Very often, the sewage is mixed with drinking water. Shankar, the vice principal of Kokatpalli school, was telling me that his village is on the banks of Musi, and they get plenty of water. What water? The raw sewage water that goes into the Malabar Musi. It's not something you and I can solve. The government collectively must solve on behalf. We are also paid by this heat. There is no part of India which is not sweltering. My God, what's the temperature, etc. And yet, if there is one rainfall for 30 minutes, Hyderabad city is flooded. Traffic comes to a standstill. What kind of idiocy is this? There's something you and I cannot do. Stormwater damage, the government must do. Do you know in Tirupati, no, Mosinram, the world's highest rainfall zone, the world's highest rainfall zone. If you simply allow the water to pile up without evaporation, the rainfall is 50 feet. 50 feet rainfall in India. Do you know in Tirupati and Mosinram, in summers there is no water? The world's highest rainfall, there is a shortage of water in summer. Whose fault is that? So we elect governments to fulfill these collective functions which are vital for our life. But we cannot do that on our own. The irrigation, electricity, we pay. None of it is free, none of it should be free. But even if we pay, there must be a system to bring electricity home. Transport systems. Unfortunately, that nobody is talking. In the last 45-50 days, they hardly talked about the collective functions. It's all about how much I am giving, how much I want to give. Whose grandfather's Smriti, we don't know. Where from it comes, we don't know. How much money is available, God knows. Nobody talks about that. So there is a potential crisis enveloping. It doesn't matter who is elected on the 4th of this month. They're already elected, but we know the result on the 4th. It doesn't matter. Whoever is elected, he is a critic. This is a matter of life or death. Trust me, I'm not saying this for effect. I'm a great optimist. But if there's one thing that's going to destroy this country's future, our children's future, at a time when there is a good opportunity for us, it is this management of money. Money does not grow on trees. If you don't manage money wisely, the way we manage in our own families, households, they have to do the same thing in the country. So if there's one thing you teach your children, as citizens and as households, managing money well and wisely is the most important thing for their future lives, personal happiness and collective happiness as a country. That would be a great lesson. About skills and all we discussed later.
Session, do you think it's coming back and maybe it's a political question of that?
Okay.
Good morning, sir. I am Suvarna, a science teacher. Suvarna. Yes, sir. Sir, this is a question for the government. This is a question for an eminent doctor like you. I think you can better understand my question. As we are talking about the future of the children, I am also very much worried about future of the children. But I am very much worried about the behavior. I am not talking about the character, I am worried about the behavior. As a doctor, I think you better know the behavior of a child will be completely depending, or that means 90% of the behavior is ruled by the inner world, that is our gut. Microbial world is the one who is ruling the behavior of the child. It's not the teacher who can change the behavior, it's not the parent who can change the behavior. They can play only 10%, remaining 90%. That is what the latest research, they proved that inner world is the one, microbial world is the one who can change the behavior of a child. So that inner world we are literally destroying. Means the type of food that we are eating is destroying the inner world of our human body. So as a responsible citizen, we can't do anything. As you said, few things can be done only by the government. Everybody knows in the whole world that we have to change our food habits. So, but there are so many things that we can't change, but only government can change. But why government is not taking any action for changing the inner world of a human?
Thank you. Next one.
Morning, sir. Myself, Raju. I am from PE department, Physical Education department. I want to ask one question, sir, for you. When we are going to class, few children, we are asking to what is your aim, what is your goal.
కొంచెం దూరంగా పెట్టుకుంటారా మైక్రోఫోన్ కొద్దిగా దూరం away from it.
Okay, sir. When you are going to class, we are asking to kids, what is your goal, what is your aim? They are telling simply IAS and IPS. What kind of inputs we are giving to them, sir? Actually, in my home also, I have two kids. One day I went to my home. My elder one is asking, someone told to him, he came to me, Dad, I want to IAS officer. Actually, you don't know what is IAS and IPS. What kind of inputs we are giving to them, sir? And I want to this answer, sir. Thank you, sir.
When I was interacting with my students to know about their dreams, what do they want to become. They expressed they want to become doctors, engineers, IAS officers, but nobody told that we are going to become an MLA or an MP. Then I asked them, why don't you choose politics as your profession? Then one of the child told me that only uneducated people will be there in politics. Can't we change the scenario that is being there in the child's mind by conducting any screening test like that? Is it possible that to conduct an exam that would screen and map their psychology, that means politician psychology, personality, intention, thinking process and decision making? Because we are all living in a society which is dominated by politicians.
Thank you. One more question, Vijay.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. I'm Lakshmi Manjula from English department. I have a simple question, sir.
మీరేం టీచ్ చేస్తారు?
English.
My question is about civic sense. Is it a natural inclination for the child or can it be implanted? If so, should it be a strict law? Can we implement it through a strict law or what can we do? As a teacher, what can I do to implant that in the minds of students?
But now we'll take this and I'll come back again. Frankly, నచ్చచుడే సాయంత్రానికి అన్నీ నాలుగు పడిపోయాను. ఇక్కడంతా కాలక్షేపం కోసం డిస్కషన్ ఒక పర్పస్ ఏంటి చెప్పండి. It's also irrelevant who is elected. I genuinely believe an election is not about who is elected. An election is about us. What happens after the election? What happens to our children's lives? Whereas we reduce the elections at a knockout, a 2020 cricket match. I am told in Andhra Pradesh right now, massive betting is going on. Somebody told me it's of the order of about 10 to 20,000 crores. I have to think how many zeros are there. In one of the poorest countries on earth, and things are desperately bad in some respects, and there's so much of opportunity, we become so cynical and stupid in our approach. So I will not be part of that. Yes, and in any case, oftentimes my assessment fails. I cannot predict the election outcome because in 2004 I remember Vajpayee government in my judgment did a remarkable job in very difficult circumstances. There were sanctions imposed on India because of Pokhran nuclear explosion. Despite that and many other adversities and instability politically, remarkable work was done. High economic growth and many improvements in economic management. I thought the government was showing it should have been done, but people thought otherwise. I did not imagine that Vajpayee government would do so. So I don't think I have the capacity to predict. I only know what I believe is necessary for the country. I don't care who is elected. So there, I think I'm just not the right person to be able to answer the question. Suvarna. No, you are right. We ignore the idea of the microbiome inside. Nowadays, increasingly, biologists say human being is not an individual alone, it's a colony. the millions of microorganisms that inhabit your gut. They shape not only some of the nutritional elements like some elements of vitamin B, etc., but they also shape your mental well-being and issues like diabetes, potentially long-term cancer, many other problems. This was not known earlier. What it means is that some of the traditional notions of nutrition, well, some of it is nonsensical, traditional notions, some of it is meaningful. So we have to be more aware. I don't know if you're aware. Now actually scientists are sometimes transplanting some of these microorganisms into the gut when they feel it's needed. But otherwise, in most cases, the right kind of nutrition and adequate products like the curds, for instance, magically, verucani, and the right kind of nutrition. And if necessary, supplements. Now there are many organizations that came up with cultures of these healthy, useful microorganisms. You can take them too. But there are some challenges. One is the problems we create into ourselves because of modernity. The pesticide residues in foods. The second is excessive use of antibiotics, not only for human consumption, but also for our crops, fisheries and shrimp culture and so on and so forth, and animal husbandry. So in supplemental quantities, these antibiotics are given to not enhance the productivity. And what's happening is that's leading to continuous resistance in our body to microorganisms that are really easily susceptible to these drugs. Many people believe in the next 25-30 years, once again, millions of people may die every year because of infections which we thought we conquered. After the Second World War, after the advent of antibiotics, we conquered most infections that were killers earlier. It's possible, unless we do something right, globally and as a nation. Millions will die of infections that was at one time treatable or easily treatable. So we have challenges. The governments don't yet know how to handle this thing. Indian government is notoriously incompetent in these matters. Our governments are both, they abuse power, they're notorious incompetent in doing good. No. As I keep saying, the positive power in India to do good is restricted. But the negative power to do damage is unrestrained. That is a unique characteristic of Indian exercise of power. And if you give them too much power, the chances are that many of these fellows become very corrupt and take bribes. There is no evidence to show that excessive regulation is actually helping the society. So we have to be careful, but a lot of public education and going to the source, either the nutritional food industry in the country, or the pharma industry in the country, or the pesticide industry. We have to figure out how to address those, all practices of animal husbandry, etc. We have to go to the source and address them, rather than addressing in retail and giving power to the local regulator. There are food inspectors available. I don't know if a single food inspector did anything good to make our life better. But they all are very, very rich. Every food inspector is super rich. So that is the tragedy of commons in India, regulation. So we have to focus a lot more attention, I agree, but don't panic. It's a genuine problem, but it's not a problem that's insurmountable. In some respects, it's a global challenge. For instance, antibiotic resistance now transcends a country. It's a global challenge. And we have to now trust technology and inculcate some degree of discipline in use of these drugs or chemicals. Also, kids' ambition, I am one of those guilty of creating a flood. After I joined in 1980, it became almost a movement in Telugu land. But somehow, my case became widely known. I probably cost hundreds of thousands making an effort in the succeeding years, and I regret it. And since then, I kept telling people, look, life is rich. There are so many things to be done. If you think IAS is wonderful and glamorous and great, you're idiots. If you genuinely care for public good, if you think you have it in you have to serve the public. If you're capable of really engineering public good in very adverse circumstances, if you have those skills and ability and knowledge and passion, then by all means try it, but don't think it's the only thing in the world. If all the IAS fellows are so great, why is this country in such a mess? After all, year after year, we are recruiting these public servants with intense competition. And the moment they are selected, we eulogize them, we praise them sky high, we honor them, we felicitate them. Or Cobra just happened. But the country is not well served. So certainly, let the fine people, if they really care for the public good, come in, not because of glamour, not because of quest for power, not because everybody respects you around you, not because of opportunities for moolah, or corruption, or abuse of power. If you really care deeply, genuinely, for the qualities to make a difference. Unfortunately, in our country, the parents, the society, and the kids, they are all enamored. I keep sometimes telling them crudely, tell me, any one of us, have you ever felt in your life, my God, there is no district magistrate in my district, my life is now poor because of that? Has any one of you felt because there is no collector in the district, your life is somehow depleted? You don't tear it down. But if you have through this thinking, if there is no proper plumbing, there is a plumbing problem. The plumber is not available immediately. Your life is hell. So tell me honestly, who is more important to your life? As simple as that. We are a bunch of idiots. We have no understanding of what matters to us right now. Just before coming here, even on telephone I was talking. My aged mother, at long last, agreed to come and live with us. She came just 3 days ago. So I ensured that the carpenter, the plumber, other people to suit her requirement because the age and mobility is very restricted so that she doesn't fall, etc. So the carpenter coming and taking care of her needs, the plumber coming and taking care of her needs, is far more important than all the things that we talk about. Somehow because of the caste system, hierarchies, this obsession for power and position and recognition, a deep-seated insecurity in our hearts and minds. Power became all important. Position became all important. Sans purpose. Power with purpose is okay. But power without purpose is terrible. You see fellows who even extend it beyond IAS. You think of the MLAs. I mean, what is there in the MLA's job? I'm not trying to insult anybody. I was an MLA. I was an IAS officer. I'm not insulting people. But what's there in that? Except hard work, giving up your family's welfare, time not for yourself, but for the community. It's a crown. It's a crown of thorns. However, for a sensitive human being, it's a crown of thorns. It's a painful thing. At your personal cost, you're trying to promote public good against very adverse circumstances. And yet, look at the competition. Is there one idiot in this country who said, no, I don't want to become a millionaire? A dying fellow will give an opportunity says, no, who will give me a seat? He will not say, I will fit for that. And they are spending 25, 30, 40 crore rupees in a desperately poor country in the off chance they might be elected. And after all, only one fellow is elected, therefore the other fellows who spend that kind of money anyway they lose it. It requires a very special insight. This lust for power, position, without purpose, lust for recognition, a deep-seated insecurity. So a fellow elected, the moment he is in elective office, he does nothing really. Trust me. In most cases, they do nothing. Anyway, nothing right. The wrong things they may do. But the body language is no. And the moment he is not elected or is not in power, he is finished, broad shoulders, looking now whether Mr. Rajareddy recognizes me, whether somebody is saluting me, or they ignoring me. Insecure. Terrible lives, stupid lives. So please teach your young children in school and at home. What matters is what is the purpose we serve. Am I fulfilling the needs of others? Am I acquiring the skills to be able to fulfill those needs? Which gives me a decent income, a livelihood, and satisfaction and dignity. Not the position I occupy without purpose. I know it's unconventional in India. Because from Abdul Kalam to Narendra Modi, they say that Jaya, join karo, ye karo, wo karo, is absurd. I'm not saying we should not have IAS, I'm saying this obsession with some of these positions and with these degrees is ridiculous, dysfunctional, and it's a cause of grief to themselves and to society. It has been said very sharply, that's why I'm using very sharp words. It's not easy for me to say a plumber is more important than a collector. Many people may misunderstand. But we have become practical. There is no other country which is so stupid, so insane in these matters like India. Because I love this country. We all love our country. I love our tradition, our culture. There are so many wonderful things. But there are also some stupid things in our culture, in our tradition. And unless we address them honestly, we cannot change for the better. Okay? And Meenakshi, nobody wants to be MLA right there. I think too many people want to be MLAs and MPs. The problem is the other way around. I don't quite agree. And I don't agree with the idea that most MLAs and MPs are uneducated. Actually, they are very well educated. They are very smart. There is almost no MLA and MP who is not exceedingly smart. May not be sometimes very formally educated. Most of them are formally educated. The notion that MLAs are uneducated buffoons is nonsense. For the most part, they are well educated on paper. They have degrees, some of them are very well informed, very successful. And most of them can make very good lives outside politics. With the money they are spending, with the ability they have to organize, to reach out to people, they can easily make money. But this lust for power, recognition, being important, being seen to be important because of deep insecurities, it makes them become insane and spend 30, 40 in some cases. I'm sure you're all familiar with Munugod by-election. Huzurabad by-election. Do you have some idea how much money was spent there? No. In Munugod, I think 350 crores at the minimum by only 2 candidates. In Huzurabad, probably about 250 crores by 2 candidates. Britain is going for elections on the 4th of July. The parliament election is going to take the House of Commons on the 4th of July. You know the total expenditure Britain is going to incur for the total parliament election in the country? Remember, British economy is as big as India's economy. Only recently we overtaken Britain in terms of GDP, but they are only 4.5% of India's population. Despite the economy being as big as ours, a very rich country, do you know how much they are going to spend for the total parliament election? All the candidates put together and the political parties in the country. Anybody, any guess? 300 to 350 crores. At the most, you mark my words and later you check the data, revealed after 4th July. At the most, it will not exceed 60 to 70 million pounds. 600 to 700 crores at the most. It's probably closer to this. And that is at the current exchange value. A pound has roughly 100 rupees exchange value in rupees. But purchasing power of pound is no more than 20-25 rupees or 30 rupees. So in purchasing power terms, their expenditure will not exceed 200 crores. Britain, the whole nation, India's size in terms of economy, spending money equal to one assembly constituency in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Just imagine how insane we are, how absurd it is, how ridiculous it is. So MLA MPs, the problem is not that they're all incompetent buffoons. That's a great myth. Yes, they may not be always suitable for public service. They're coming in for the wrong reasons. It's not even corruption. Trust me, I don't believe it's not in corruption. I'm not saying there's no corruption after all. I'm just saying the biggest fight against corruption in this country. There is corruption, but the motivation is not corruption. It is deep-seated psychological insecurity. Years ago, I was in Karnataka, in a village, remote village. The local sarpanch, he came to me. And then he told me, sir, it's very good, interesting. Actually, that small interaction tells you about the political economy of our country. My son got selected as a lineman in a city board. It's not a big job, but good, decent salary is available. In Telangana, I told me, they get paid more than 1 lakh rupees. Maybe 1,40,000 rupees a month. Good pension and all sorts of things. And then some small actions also to be done. Do something and take it over here. Not much of corruption, but. And the Sarpanch is a poor man because of the reservations in the BC area. So he got the opportunity without the BC and somebody said fantastic. Became Sarpanch, but didn't have money. The fellows who were to recruit him, they selected him, but they said, give 1.5 lakh rupees, then we will recruit him. Otherwise, we will not. He came for help, but then 1.5 lakh rupees. So forget good, bad, ugly, morality, immorality, bribery. We leave that aside. I asked him, how much money have you spent in the Sarpanch election? Just a few months before that, he was elected as Sarpanch. He said, sir, 10 lakh rupees. I said, look, your family is not well settled. You are not very rich. The accident, because it's given to BCs, you contest it. And there's not, to the best of my understanding, there's not even money to be made in this village. You can't even make 10-20 lakh rupees for a corruption. So why did you contest and spend this kind of money? He gave me a wonderful answer. It's the most accurate answer in India. He put his hands like this in his head. He said, sir, Unmadam, sir, Unmadam. In Kannada, Unmadam is common use. Picture and then Unmadam. That is the truth. There is a madness, an insanity that has gripped a large number of people. So don't think that they're all bad fellows. Many of them are not suitable for public government. That's not their interest is. That's a different matter. They're coming for the wrong reasons. So how do you get the best people? There's no doubt that we have to get the best people. The best, brightest and the best of people who are genuinely public spirited and who have this unique skill set to promote public good in very difficult circumstances. We need no amount of qualifications and degrees will ensure that. You are all degree holders, most of you postgraduate degree holders. Let's be truthful only indoors. Can you honestly tell me that a graduation in India actually means something? Let's be truthful. If you mug up the last 3 years question papers in the last 1 week, you get a first class today in India. True or not? So what kind of education? Suppose you put a qualification, does it really make a difference to the country? So we have to be on this. Ordinary qualifications, CFO, all this is very juvenile, typical middle class obsession. But does it mean that people can come in without any preparation or suitability? No. There are other ways of doing it. You know who the best chief minister of the Telugu states was? And who was our best chief minister? Anybody else? The best man was Jaya. Absolutely practical, promoted the greatest development in the Telugu land, fiscal discipline, common sense, no speeches, action, results, no country. You know what Venkatra's education qualification was? He never finished school. He never finished school. So there are other ways of doing it. He was exceedingly well trained in local government. He was Sarpanch, something president, Jaya Prakash Narayana. Then MLA, then minister. Abundant comments, I knew him very well until the end of his life. I used to oppose it as a student because he was chief minister during emergency. We were all against emergency. But when I got to know what was the reality, it was wonderful. So it's not the degree. Supposing we empower local governments, strengthen them, give them the power of accountability, then we can check how they perform. We can have a guide. We can say, yes, he or she performed very well, can be trusted with higher office. Today we are parachuting all these fellows with money or pedigree or caste. Suddenly we don't know anything. They don't know anything. And they get into office. The second is internal party democracy. Instead of the party process deciding on somebody because he's son of so-and-so, or he gave so much money, or he's capable of spending so much money, or he belongs to so-and-so caste. These are the three criteria today in India. The first question they ask is, if you fail there, you are finished in India. Second question is, they go wrong. And the related question is, they are going to. These are the three most important criteria. That's basic. But if you actually try and test them in local governments, and if there is a a choice made by the members of the party through some kind of a process of screening, primary elections as they call in elections. Then the chances are that the better people, more equipped people there is not. So there are ways of ascertaining the qualifications and filtering, not qualifications as you and I understand, not a degree, not an examination, that doesn't matter. Okay? Lakshmi Mandura. Civic sense. Can we teach? Certainly. It has to be taught. There is no question. See, not everything is by nature. What is civic sense? A sensitivity to the collective need. A recognition that if everybody behaves badly, I also end up losing. Now, some people have the innate moral compass. They get it without being told. That is a very small number. The vast majority have to be taught and must create the right kind of incentive structure. That good behavior is rewarded and bad behavior is punished. Whether it's forming a queue, or traffic discipline, or not jumping a red light, or in behaving with each other without uncouthness, when you are dignified, have basic courtesy and humility in dealing with somebody else. These are all things that ought to be taught. There is no other. I'll give you a couple of instances. The first time I was abroad, long ago, sometime in 1991 or 92, I think, I went to a country called the Netherlands, Holland. I went to study the cooperative bank there, the world's finest cooperative banking structure. The evening or the afternoon we arrived, we were taken to a small little town called Wageningen. Very small town. About 5 o'clock or thereabout, they were all an Indian group. They were hosting a small reception for us, just across the road. A Dutch lady was escorting us, and 12 of us Indians. I think all of us men. There was no traffic inside. On a working day in the Netherlands by 4:30, they start work at 6:30 or 7. They finish work by 3 to 4 o'clock. So 4:30 they go home. They have early dinner. They really work hard. However, cold it is, they still are at work by 7 o'clock. Only in India where the luxury of going to work at 10:30, despite the sun rising at 5 o'clock in the morning and so on and so forth. So there was not a single vehicle inside. We were all Indians. We had to go across the road. We just scampered across the road. The Dutch lady waited on the pavement and said, "Gentlemen, please wait." We all felt embarrassed like school kids. We were all officers from all over the country. We felt ashamed and went back. The lady pressed the button for the walk sign. There was not a single vehicle. The road was deserted. Waited for 1 full minute until the road was sign turned green for the walk. Then we walked across. We never again, in those 15 days in the Netherlands, crossed the road or violated traffic. I came back. Because of that, I was very punctiliously used to have a Fiat car. Punctiliously driving, very carefully, never overtake from the left, never jump in any red light, follow all the traffic rules, never honk, they never honk. They never blow the horn. My wife was sitting with me and my long-suffering wife. After 3-4 days, she said, "What's happening? Are you insane?" I said, "I'm following traffic rules." She said, "At this rate, you will never get across." And trust me, she took the steering wheel then and she never gave it back to me. Even now, she drives me around. She doesn't allow me to drive. She also doesn't have faith in my driving ability. She thinks I'm too preoccupied. Never I'm prone to an accident or something. But this is real. So what kind of incentive structure have you created? Take Hyderabad traffic. The other day, the government announced that all the traffic penalties imposed on captured on CCTV camera, they said we will waive them. Idiots! These penalties are not to collect revenue. These penalties are to send a message. Please don't break the rules. Otherwise, you will suffer, others suffer, people die. You think it's a matter of money. And in order to get some stupid votes, you say, no penalty. So what are you telling them? Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what you do. Red light, we just camper across at 80 kilometers, nothing will happen. You may die. Or somebody else may die. That's their problem. God has not been kind to you. God wanted to take you. So it's not by nature, it has to be nurtured. It has to be inculcated in schools and it has been inculcated in society by the right incentive structure. Just one aside. The other day I heard a very interesting story. In one good school like yours, the kids are all taught at a very young age, 8 years old, 10 years old, the traffic rules. This kid got first mark in a traffic test. Traffic signs, what it means, so on and so forth. And after the school was over, he was getting back. And he forgot that the traffic rules were actually observing the rules not for examination. And he got into an accident. Luckily, there was no death, but he actually got injured. So it's not really a bookish thing. You must make them understand it is life. It is part of life, the behavior. Another example. How many of you heard of Mullapudi Venkataraman? So Mullapudi Bapu is the view. Mullapudi Venkataraman told me this story long back. NTR as Chief Minister summoned Bapu and Mullapudi and asked them to produce some capsules for school education. So instead of teaching them didactically, he wanted them to be influential, to penetrate the minds. So they produced a lot of capsules, but they were way ahead of their age because there was no TV, there was no social media. So it didn't work out, but they did remarkable things. So Mullapudi told me the story of how he inculcated the idea of discipline and queuing. One day the teacher comes, there are 20 kids in the class, comes 20 coffees here, like chocolates or whatever, and the table says take them. The kids all go, they puzzle, they kick each other, they throw each other, some people get it, some people don't get it, some people fall down, some start playing it. Next day the teacher comes, says there are 20 of you, there are 20 coffees here, look, Bhagirathi, you are a great fellow, you make sure that everybody gets it. And he goes out. The kids already realize if they all scamper, what happens? Next day, because there is somebody leading them, because they had experience that will ultimately hurt them, they learn the importance of queue. So we have to make them realize as part of life's experience. Because India is a wonderful society, but one of our great weaknesses is there is no sense of common fate. We bring people, even in the airport. After you have a boarding pass, suddenly boarding is announced. One comes just to the hit the other fellow in the shin. Suddenly, because you are afraid that the plane will take off without you. These can be easily avoided. There is nothing wrong with our character as a society. It's just that some things we have to make them part of our life. I don't know if there's anything else. Let's go for all questions. Yes, I think I got all questions.
Good morning, sir. I am Anuradha, working as a high school mathematics teacher in Kukutpalli, Genesis, sir. And my question for you is, why is not emotional balance and why is not psychological balance and emotional growth of students?
This is calculated to punish the speakers so that they don't speak too long. And some people are nominated. Go on, please.
Why is not psychological balance and emotional growth of students is a core component. Otherwise, if they are not there, the stress and anxiety of the students, it may affect their improvement, their development. And nowadays, parents are expecting only intellectual growth. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. 30, 40 years ago, with joint family structure, families paying a lot of attention. And even if it's a nuclear family, very rarely are both parents working. Therefore, there's always one parent fully paying attention to the children's needs, physical and psychological. Things were easier. Our families absorbed a lot of these uncertainties and gave security. It's becoming harder and harder now. First of all, increasingly there are two working members of the family. Almost all are nuclear families, grandparents and individuals are very uncommon. And big city environment, you don't even know who your neighbor is. Very rarely you can make friendships. And even if you are inclined to do that with the social media era and television and Netflix and streaming, I think children are living in the world of splendid isolation. So certainly I think the psychological challenges are going to become more and more serious. So what earlier the family handled, increasingly now I think the society, particularly schools, must create a framework. I hope schools like yours, at least initially, you don't have to do something very profound and very deep. Slowly we can get better and better. But if some people are given initial training as to how to counsel the youngsters and available beyond the classrooms and beyond the textbooks and examinations and school subjects, counseling, anything, anytime, you can come and talk to me. We can discuss, we can get out, that kind of thing. I'm sure you're doing it, but if that is deepened, it will be helpful. But from the larger societal point of view, to do it as a collective entity, it's not going to happen very time soon. I must be truthful. And Tamil was sample. Basic educational outcomes, minimal outcomes required, literacy, numeracy, applying the basic concepts in daily life, we are incredibly deficient. We are one of the worst in the world in educational outcomes. But no fault of the kids. Our kids are as bright as anybody else on earth. Only this morning I saw the news that the Telangana kid got the first top billing in spelling bee test in the United States. He became number 1 in the United States. Year after, the Indian kids do exceptionally well. About 80% of the finalists in spelling bee examinations are Indians. So there's nothing wrong with our kids. They're just getting third-rate education. Or they're not getting education. They're pretending to impart education in the large part as a country. So in such a country, it is not enough to do things. So don't expect too much from the government. That will be a little over-ambitious. I'm not even asking for that. I'm only asking, make sure that the kid understands mathematical concepts. Make sure that the kid understands reasoning and logic and ability to draw conclusions. That's what science is. Understands how to read and communicate effectively and apply knowledge. For the time being, I'm very content with this. That much is done there. Then we think of other things. But certainly schools like yours, which are successful, you can probably do that better. I would urge you to do that, and I'm sure other schools will slowly imitate that. And then we'll see as a matter of public policy what we can do, because neither our healthcare is in good shape. There are so many things to be done. Psychological health is important, but right now, the minimal healthcare also is not available in the country. 54 million people are becoming poor every year. 5 crore 40 lakh people every year for want of proper healthcare. And education network, we are among the worst in the world for no fault of the kids. Only 1% of the children of India, they are meeting world standards at school. Only 1%. About 10-15% can match them thanks to teachers like you in schools like yours. Can be little behind, but they can feel okay, they can make up. But 70-80% have no future. There is no education. It's a myth. The pass percentages are 98%, 99%. Marks are, if you get less than 90 out of 1,000 in intermediate, you are useless in India. Marks mean nothing. Passing means nothing. Our education is substandard. I don't mean to offend anybody, but you have to acknowledge the reality and figure out what is wrong and how to set it right. So in that context, there is so much more that needs to be done. Let's not be over-ambitious. First, take care of the basic academic needs. Real academic needs, not the stupid examinations, mass copying and rote learning, but real understanding and application of knowledge. And then slowly build up. But definitely psychological needs are incredibly important, and they're getting more and more important in a very urbanized, impersonal society with social media and all kinds of things happening. It's crazy, and therefore we need to protect ourselves.
Namaste. Namaste, sir. I'm a great fan of you. I keep following your videos, debates, and your shorts. So in that, continuously you deliver and you give the information and a very accurate data. So now also you are giving the same data regarding education, roads, constructions, everything, every corner of the human life you are giving very good data. So that is the thing which I admire you a lot, sir. So and how you are managing, these are all data on your fingertips. So that is, will you share the secret so that we can give the same tips to our students? Being a social teacher, I I keep on facing lot of problems like years, remembering years and keeping data in mind and writing is a difficult task for students. So I keep on telling about you that can you anyone follow the videos and the debates of Sir Jaya Prakash Narayana sir, then you can get the enthusiasm to get the data in your fingertips and to acquire the knowledge and all. And one more thing, sir, you are telling about the election cost and the election expenses. So I keep on telling about your party, like Lok Satta party. It is against the corruption. The motive is your party is against the corruption. So when come to my students, they are giving these figures, whatever the figures you are telling. Ma'am, 200 crores for this election, 500 crores. So from the childhood onwards, if they are learning these are all things, how difficult if they grow up and when they are able to go for voting and all, how they will decide themselves to go for a vote, proper vote. So how do we teach them not to go for corruption and going in a right way? So can you please guide us in a right way so that we can share the same information to our students? Thanks a lot, sir.
First question, if you ask my wife, she will tell you that I'm the most ignorant fellow on earth. Because many things she thinks are important, like quickly they escape my attention, I forget, I don't know, so on and so forth. So there's nothing great about it. For 50 years plus, I read everything about this country, I practiced everything about this country, I keep asking questions every moment of my life, and I meet people about their personal lives, their understanding of society, and there are a lot of people who are doing a lot of work before you study, you understand, you acquire all this knowledge. You know, I dreamt India, I slept India, I ate India, I drank India, nothing else I did memory for 50 plus years. I was from 1973 onwards. You know, there is an academy director, the National Academy of Missouri called Aditya Jha. I think he was inaugurating the billiards table in the academy in those days in Missouri. And he played the inaugural match with the probationer and the training, and he lost it 15-0. Probationer won it 15. And the director put his arms around this probationer and said, "Young man, proficiency in billiards is a sign of misspent youth." Instead of acknowledging his own deficit, he said, "You have misspent youth. You are proficient in billiards only because you spent a lot of time whiling away a lot of time in billiards." So I whiled away a lot of time trying to understand this country, nothing more. About the second part, it's a pity that young kids, the impressionable age, they are looking at how much money is spent and they are normalizing. They are thinking somehow it is a norm. Please do your absolute best to make them understand what the government is about, what taxes are, what is public office, and that this money is abnormal. It is dysfunction. It is destroying the country. Please go out of your way to pay some attention. I didn't realize that when kids are getting these numbers in their eyes, I'm shocked and horrified. Because if it's normalized, it's a reality today, it's a fact. In large parts of the country, they don't want to be there. But if it is normalized, then they think it's the way things are done. Then that is where it's like. If you recognize how terrible it is, one day or the other we'll work towards changing. If you think it's the way things are, it's normal, and right from childhood it's inculcated, then there's no hope for the future at all. So please go out of the way to generate a discussion at least once in a week, an hour or so, about these issues in a pragmatic way. We discuss many things in a pragmatic, giving simple examples, not fiery theories, not rhetoric, all this will not work. Make them understand. The government is about collective good. True politics is a noble endeavor, I always say this. But what's happening is not true politics. It's a disaster. So unless the kids are sensitized to that, I'm afraid things will become much harder. I'm very pained to realize that kids are getting these numbers.
Yes, sir.
This is extremely heartbreaking, extremely heartbreaking. And the other thing we can do is, if not at school, at least at the college level, there is a lot of demand from some sections, there must be college elections and all. Many others, including parents, they should not be elections. My own preference is let them participate and learn the art of democracy, but not imitate what's happening there. Re-institutionalize it. Have an electoral system, there are many electoral models. which is not amenable to this kind of manipulation and corruption. But actually the best can be elected as leaders, can be grown up as leaders. And set an example as to how they conduct their affairs. So that kind of an effort, that this is the way it should be, not that, don't be like that. Don't be a student wing of a party and do exactly what is supposed to do there. But do differently. Make democracy work. And then try and see that these lessons can be utilized in changing the democracy in the larger area. So these are the two things that occur to me immediately. But we must generate a discussion, make them realize politics is about public good. Collective needs that we cannot individually meet. Without meeting these needs, our lives are bad. That's what politics is. We made it into a disastrous struggle for individual power without any purpose. And that definition must be changed in the minds of the youngsters. Somebody here.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్, నా పేరు మొత్తం నేను తెలుగు వచ్చాను. పూర్వంలోనే నేను చదువుకునేప్పుడు మా గురువుగారు చెప్పినటువంటి విషయాలు వినేవారు. వినని వాళ్ళని దండించేవారు సార్. అప్పుడు ఆ దండించడం వలన ఇప్పుడు వాళ్ళు చెప్పినటువంటి మార్గదర్శకత్వం వల్ల కానీ నైతిక సామాజిక విలువలు పెంపొందించుకోవడం జరిగింది. ఇప్పుడు ఉన్నటువంటి విద్యార్థులని భయపెట్టకుండా చదివించడం అనేది, ఇలాంటి నైపుణ్యాలను పెంపొందించడం అనేది కరెక్టేనా సార్? మీ అభిప్రాయం తెలియదు.
నా మటుకు నేను పిల్లలను పట్టడం అంటే సహించలేదు. నేను అదృష్టవంతుని ఒంటి మీద తప్పగా జీవితంలో ఇంట్లో కానీ టీచర్లు కానీ పొరపాటును కూడా చిన్న దెబ్బ కూడా వేశారు. నాకు చాలా సిక్కేసింది. మా మాస్టర్ గారు వచ్చారు, సుబ్బారావు గారు చెప్పి ఆయన వచ్చి క్లాస్లో అందరిని అడిగేవాడు. చెప్పనవాళ్ళందరినీ బెంచ్ మీద నుంచోబెట్టేవాడు. ప్రతిరోజు నేను ఒక్కడే కూర్చుండేవాడు, అందరూ బెంచ్ మీద నుంచునేవాడు. క్లాస్లో చదివేవాళ్ళు నన్నది కోపం, కసి ఇవన్నీ ఉంటాయి కదా, అసూయ. సో వాళ్ళందరికీ నేను ఎగిరి ఇంకో మాస్టర్ గారు, నేను 8th క్లాస్లో ఉండగా 9th క్లాస్ మాస్టర్ గారు రామ్మోహన్ మాస్టర్ ప్రిన్సిపాల్ చెప్పి నేను వెళ్ళాను ఇక్కడ క్లాస్. జయ ప్రకాష్ ఒక ఫలానా నువ్వు చెప్పు అన్నాడు బోర్డు మీద. అది మ్యాథమెటికల్ కాన్సెప్ట్. నేను వెంటనే ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశాను. గాడి అన్నారు, రాజు 8th క్లాస్ కొన్నాడు, నేను 9th క్లాస్ ఉన్నాను, మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళకి సరిపోయింది. కొట్టడం అనేది పరిష్కారాన్ని అనుకోవట్లేదు. కానీ అట్ ది సేమ్ టైం ఆప్యాయతో చిన్నదాన్ని వేస్తే కోపంతో కాదు, అది పెద్ద జీవన సంస్థ కూడా అనుకో. కోపంతో కొట్టే మాత్రం జరగడం ఆ బిడ్డకి ఈజ్ రివార్డ్ వర్సెస్ పనిష్మెంట్ అని దీంట్లో ఉంటే పెద్దగా పట్టించుకోవాలి. కానీ ఆ డిస్క్రిప్షన్ అంతా నమ్మకం లేదు కాబట్టి తల్లిదండ్రులు కూడా ఓవర్ సెన్సిటివ్ అవుతున్నారు. పిల్లల్ని చేసేసింది కాబట్టి చేంజ్ చేసుకోకుండా కూడా పిల్లలకి చెప్పిన సాధ్యం నమ్ముతున్నారు. ఇట్స్ నాట్ ఈజీ. టీచింగ్ ఆర్ కమ్యూనికేటింగ్ విత్ యంగ్ పీపుల్ ఆర్ చేంజింగ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇస్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద హార్డెస్ట్ థింగ్స్. బట్ యాక్చువల్లీ నో. ఓకే అండి, మన పిల్లలు ఫర్గెట్ ది టీచర్స్ ఇన్ స్కూల్. మన పిల్లలకు కూడా మనం చెప్పడానికి నాకు తేలిక కాదు. నీ అనుభవం జరిగితే నా అనుభవం పిల్లలు వరకు మీరు కంటున్నారు. మన తెలుగులో చెప్తారు, ఎందుకంటే చెప్తారు, నో మ్యాన్ ఈజ్ ఎ హీరో ఫర్ హిస్ వైఫ్ అండ్ బ్యాలెన్స్ అండ్ చిల్డ్రన్. ఐ థింక్ యూఆర్ యూస్లెస్. My children think I am utterly useless. I think every family has the same problem. You may be anything in life, but for your children you are nobody, because you will never be a good parent. You are always failed as a parent. So it's very difficult, but you have to resist the temptation to be. But occasionally ఏమన్నా కనుక ప్రేమతో కనుక అర్థమయ్యేది చెప్పాలని చెప్పి చిన్నగా తీవ్రంగా కాకుండా కోపంతో కాకుండా కొడితే పెద్ద తీవ్రంగా కూడా అనుకోసం అవసరం లేదు. ఆ మధ్యలో under Scandinavian countries, I think an Indian mother, like all many Indian mothers too, కొంచెం పిల్లలు బెస్ట్ ఇమ్మీడియట్గా ఆ పిల్లలు చైల్డ్ సర్వీసెస్ వాళ్ళు తీసుకుపోయి ఫైట్ లాంగ్ లీగల్ బ్యాటిల్ దట్ ఈస్ టూ ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్. It is somewhere balance is required. At the same time, punishing children and hurting them, doing it out of anger and scaring them is a very dangerous. There will be serious scars. So each of us must decide what is the style. But increasingly now, I think parents are very reluctant to allow the teachers to use their corporal. You cannot teach. Therefore, we have to find ways of punishing without physical punishment. In other countries, they are also importing for the central detention to something else is done. So there are ways of doing it. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think we have to work. There is no easy solution.
Okay.
Jaya as one of the directors in the management. So I would just like to know your opinion on this particular aspect. So when I was in schooling, if someone would ask what I would do in the future, I would say I would do my engineering from a very reputed institution and then I would move to the US. Right? I am pretty sure it is 60 to 70% of our youth today who are thinking the same. They would want to move to the US because they have someone instilled in their minds that after your studies you go to the US. That's all. That is what they think since they were kids. It is not because we don't have great opportunities here. As we all know, a lot of CEOs abroad are also from Indian origin. Even UK's Prime Minister is of an Indian origin. So I would just want to know how do we instill in their minds that you don't have to dream the American dream. India is great and you have great opportunities here. And how do we go about this situation?
It's a great question, Anand. I'm a little more agnostic. I'm not unduly worried that my God, the Indians are going abroad or something. Because I also see they're giving back a lot to this country. They're getting annually $70 billion of foreign remittances. Without that, we would not be able to make current account balance. Our exports are far and short of our imports. We'll just give an example. They're bringing back attitudes, skills, science and technology, investments. Take healthcare. Right from my college days, at the end of the year, 90 out of 100 or 125 used to go abroad. They used to go in a chartered flight. They never boarded a train in their lives until that time. First time they go to Chennai, go to chartered flight, go to Malaysia or Manila, Philippines, do at that time whatever exam was ECFMD or ECP examination. Within 6 months they were abroad. That was the norm. Many of them, particularly those who went to India and gave us access to healthcare which was unthinkable 20-30 years ago. When Vajpayee had his knee surgery done, knee replacement done, he was the first in India to get it done. A British expert team came to Mumbai and they did that. Today, Hyderabad alone, we do 200 knee transplants a day. Because they learned, they brought those skills. So I don't think going abroad is depleting India necessarily. There are two ways of addressing this problem. Why are we feeling the depletion? Why do we have to raise this question at all in the first place? Because we feel we are losing some of our best brains to those countries. Actually, the number going is very small relative to the number of kids here. Every year, 1 crore 30 lakh youngsters are joining the job market of India. 13 million people. The number of people going to America every year are probably no more than a few tens of thousands. But we feel the depletion. Why? Because we are not harnessing the human potential of the country. If these 1 crore 30 lakh children actually have fulfilled their potential in significant measure, they have acquired true education, not degrees and a piece of paper, but true education and acquired skills, then if 1 or 2% of them go away, for some time or permanently, it's not a big loss. But we are only developing the minds of a very small proportion of our country. If you take engineering, out of 15 lakh kids going to engineering colleges in India, the number may be a little less or more because many colleges are closing down. 85% know nothing of engineering, they have a degree. ఇంట్లో కారు కానీ స్కూటర్ కానీ చూడన్నా మెకానికల్ ఇంజనీర్ చేసిన అడిగితే ఏదో పబ్లిసుకోవాలని చెప్పండి వాడికి తెలియదు ఏం చేస్తాడు ఇల్లిటెడ్ మెకానికల్ తీసుకోవాలి తీసుకోవాలి మెకానికల్ ఇంజనీర్ he goes to the illiterate mechanic because there are zero skills. That is the challenge. If most of our education actually yields the dividends, they get what they are supposed to get out of education. If some of them go abroad, it's a good thing for the country. You must be exposed to the rest of them. India will not feel deeply. I keep saying brain is better than brain in the brain. So the challenge is how do you enhance the human potential or fulfill the human potential in this country, in a country where every parent is willing to sacrifice. I'm a drive చేస్తున్న డ్రైవర్ జైపాలనుకుంటారు ఇద్దరు పిల్లలు నాకు కాదు ఒకళ్ళు 30,000 ఇంకోళ్ళు 40,000 ఫీ కడుతున్నారు 8 ఏళ్ళ పిల్ల ఆడాడు 70,000 ఫర్ డ్రైవర్ 70,000 rupees per year school fees not a joke. It's not a joke. In which other country do you see the poorest of the people spending so much money disproportionate to their income with the hope that the children get a chance? What is happening is a monumental tragedy here. If the potential of most of the children, all the children is realized reasonably well, then this question will not arise. The second thing is, as the economy grows, as opportunities multiply in this country, I think more and more people will be inclined to stay. And because people take homes, even in software, lakhs of people went there, and many people are coming back because they see opportunities. So it's not the great talk of patriotism. Anadesam Populism, I don't think it influences beyond the point. Let's actually correct our mistakes, give more opportunities. Already it's beginning to happen. Wherever such opportunities exist, they can earn better, they can have greater satisfaction, and there is a better community life here. You feel more secure. There are also some good things here. Many people are coming back. So we have to keep doing that better and better, but do not discourage people from doing it wrong. You know, in the 14th, 15th centuries, there was a Ming emperor. There was a fellow called Chen He. He was the admiral in China. China had the biggest navy in those days. The longest is 400 feet long ships. The biggest ships in those days. He navigated all the known oceans at that time. They only knew Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean. They did not even know that time. So all that part, Asia up to Africa, he all went on. After he came back, the king felicitated him, but then banned further navigation. When Hindu Sampradayana Satyamanapatikaru something that they stopped. The nation simply went down. If you're not in communication with the rest of the world, if you're not exposed to the rest of the world, there's no intermingling of ideas, we will lose big time. That is the biggest reason why Akbar was one of the greatest emperors of all time. But just as Europe was beginning to understand many things, people like Akbar, or the Ottomans, or the Chinese Ming Empire, they all messed up. By not interacting with the rest of the world, by not learning, by not getting the best. So, don't be xenophobic. Let's figure out how to fulfill human potential in this country through better education, better skills, and create opportunities and make our country more and more attractive. But let also some of us just go abroad and pick up the skills and the knowledge and ideas and the management practices and build them back. Because the world is not anybody's credit, but it's our country. However, just as it's our country, we should not leave the rest of the world alone. We have to conquer as much as we can through the mind and through professionalism, not through arms and weapons.
Lok Sabha Party is a non-partisan citizen movement for democratic reforms in the country, started and led by Jaya Prakash Narayana, a former IAS officer and a renowned activist from Andhra Pradesh. What are these reforms you are talking about, sir, and why are they so important? How much could you achieve and reasons for not achieving the same on the expected scale, sir?
I'll try to make it very simple. You know, there are two ways of looking at democracy. One is, there are certain attributes of functioning democracy, and India is very good there. For instance, we must have political competition. Whoever sees the elections in our country, they recognize there is intense political competition, probably greater than anywhere else around. Political freedoms, we have tremendous political freedom. From accusing each other, from shouting at everybody, Rasta Roko, anything, all political freedoms. We occasionally complain, but it's all a myth. Then elected governments are really in power. Whoever is elected, whether Revanth Reddy is elected as Chief Minister or the Minister of MLAs, or AC or Narendra Modi or somebody else, they are really in authority. That's one of the attributes of power, true democracy. There is peaceful transfer of power to people's will. While money is changing hands, while all kinds of short-term freebies are offered, malpractices are there, we are polarizing society and caste, religion, etc. All these are true, but at the end of the day, the people are voting in whatever manner they want. Nobody is putting a gun to them, the voting. It is their voting, good or bad, that's what our society is. So in those aspects, we are a truly effective functioning democracy. But that's not enough. That's not enough. If political parties are private estates, as Narendra Modi keeps talking about all the time, I've been talking about it for 30 years, if they become family heirlooms, jaggies, it's not democracy because the competition is essentially different parties. If parties are controlled by individuals and families, it's undemocratic. If an electoral system creates conditions for money, the kind of money we talked about, to be spent in elections, what if it's వచ్చింది డబ్బులు ఇవ్వకపోతే నేను వచ్చి ఓటేనా రెస్పెక్ట్ చూసి టీవీ కెమెరాలు ఫ్రాంక్గా చెప్పేస్తాను మా డబ్బులు పంచలేస్తారు మేము బాయ్కాట్ చేస్తున్నాం మేము ఎలక్షన్ రావాలి. There's no point blaming the people because people are not enabled to understand what exactly does the vote mean. How is the vote linked to my life? Where is my tax money going? ఎవరు వచ్చినా నాకు ఓటే నాకు వచ్చినట్టు పెట్టుకు వచ్చిందే కట్టామని డబ్బులు తీసుకుంటాను. So blaming each other is no good. So why is it happening? Why is the democratic process perverted? How do we set it back institution? Then, if power is centralized, today the states are all powerful, no matter what they say, don't believe them. Power is really vesting in states, not in the union. The state chief minister is a monarch in every single state in the country. But local governments, municipality, panchayat, mandal, subdivisions, innervated, enfeebled. Election is going to go to I don't know what to do. In Hyderabad mayor, do you know who is the mayor of Hyderabad? I don't know. I didn't know. I don't care. One day I asked Dr. Manmohan Singh, our Prime Minister, I said, do you know the name of the mayor of Delhi? He did not. Kolkata? No. Mumbai? No. But do you know the mayor of New York? He said, yes, Bloomberg. London? Yes, earlier it was a Democrat. After Boris Johnson, there was a Democrat, I forget his name now. Or Mexico, the present president, the man who is going to be unseated, I think tomorrow is the election in Mexico. Called Manuel, there was the Mexico City president, Raul, mayor. Centralized democracy, the world's most centralized democracy. Actually, more centralized than many autocratic countries. China is more decentralized than India. I don't know if you're aware. China is far more decentralized than India. And the rule of law. ఈ దేశంలో ఎవరికైనా చట్టం అందరికీ సమానంగా వర్తిస్తున్న నమ్మకం ఉన్నది. Without rule of law, without speedy and efficient justice, without fairness, without quick resolution of disputes, without punishing the criminals swiftly and fairly, without protecting the innocent, without sifarish or crime, what kind of a country? We are lucky so far because our society is very strong. But with increasing urbanization, impersonal lives, the social controls will not work. That's why crime is increasing in cities. We are afraid if our girls go out and speak, what will happen to them when they come back. Even I tell my daughter, when she said, pick up just when you figure my wife is not allowed, she shot at me still. I worry about my daughter so much and the fear of my life. So, rule of law. And many more, accountability. Without the government being transparent, that's why I am doctored to write information. And doctored is sickness charge. There is so much more to democracy than merely elections and who is winning and who is losing. And Lok Sabha achieved the largest number of changes in the history of this country without any problem. Probably in democratic history in the world without problem. 3 constitutional amendments, 91st, 97th and 99. At least 8 or 9 major laws in the country. Is it enough? No. It's still, compared to others, Chitlands or Avanchita Mahavaksham Gavati, what we accomplished is spectacular. But related to what needs to be done, there's so much more to be done. I'm always conscious. నేను సంతోషం ఉంది గొప్ప వ్యక్తి వచ్చేప్పుడు సంతోషం అని చాలా చేయాలని చెప్తారు నేను చాలా చేయాలి మనం చేసింది చాలా అద్భుతంగా కనిపిస్తుంది మిగతా వాళ్ళు అడిగిన వాళ్ళు కానీ చేయాల్సింది చాలా సో మచ్ మోర్ టుడే I talked to you about budget management, fiscal. Nobody in India is doing that. The old pension system is destroying the country. Some parties are embracing that without understanding. These are very complex issues. Only when I raised my voice in both the Telugu states, the stupidity has come. Karnataka stupidity has come. So if you keep urging, if you have credibility, if you speak the truth, if you forge allies with the right kind of people, if you foresee the future, if you fight for the right cause in the right way, it's hard, but eventually people do listen. It may take 10, 15, 20 years in some cases, but you have patience of a lifetime. Mahatma Gandhi said the reformer must have infinite patience. So there is so much more to be done. If you're interested, go to the website, you find enormous literature, enormous amount of work to be done. Every day in and day out, I keep telling the country what needs to be done, how it should be done, why it's so important. If it's not done, what is the danger you're going to face. So there's so much more to democracy than elections. Elections are important, but they're not sufficient. Yes.
Can I take one? After change,
whoever it is, and come on.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity.
That's going to be the habit one.
I don't need. Nowadays, the marks is the criteria whether the student is intelligent or not. Is it right? Nowadays, Maksudane, physics. Nowadays, every parent or every teacher is looking at only the marks of the student. And it is becoming a race.
I got it. Thank you. Then,
it's a lengthy question.
okay. Good.
So how we have to see this kind of behavior in the students, parents, as well as in the teachers? And second part of my question is, if a student gets a good mark or good rank in competitive exams, it is the hard work of student. If he fails to get, it is the failure of the teacher. Do we agree? It is the thing that is in the minds of so many people in the society, in the teacher community, and in the student community, and in the parents also. How we have to eradicate all these kind of things in the minds of parents, teachers, management, as well as the society?
Thank you. You are absolutely right. But I don't think the student can be blamed. I don't think that the parent can be blamed. I don't think that the teacher can be blamed. Because the kids respond to incentives. What is the incentive given? If you measure the outcome in a certain manner, tell them that this is success, they want success. The parents want success. The kids want success. The teachers want success. The management want success. It is the failure of the society and the governing system to design the right kind of outcome measurement. వారం రోజుల్లో బట్టి దాంతో 99% మార్కులు వచ్చి సక్సెస్ అనుకుంటే అప్లై చేస్తారు ప్రమాణంగా. అంత కష్టపడేందుకు కాపీ కొట్టేసి 99 మార్కులు వస్తే సక్సెస్ అంటే అప్లై చేస్తారు ప్రమాణంగా. You can't blame any of these players. It is the fool who has designed a system of measuring the outcomes that is killed. I am very optimistic about India. Recently, the passion for education, we don't see almost anywhere else on that. I already mentioned it, you are aware. Our parents sacrifice enormously for their children's education. What do they do to gain them? What also Champana said, what Trimapana said, Pelakosam Pranamana said. Kids work very hard. But the physical most problem, personal about you are also techno school, art school, concept school, how would the parents work about that ask? And teachers and managers are doing their best to achieve the results that society wants. But suppose you define the outcomes intelligently and sensibly, and you measure the outcomes honestly everything will change. There is a survey called PISA. You have another PISA survey? Program for International Students Assessment Index. OECD countries started surveying their children at the age of 15 to compare how are our children faring. They want to examine three things. Language doesn't mean quoting Shakespeare or Milton. It is the ability to comprehend, understand, and communicate effectively. The test is an intelligent literacy, comprehension, and communication. The second is mathematics, not formulae or something else. That is, grasp the mathematical concepts and can you apply them in problem solving. The third is science. Again, it's not your physics teacher, it's not your C equals V equals half square. It is, can you apply logic and derive reasonable conclusions from given facts? That is what science is. They are universal. They are not culture specific. India participated in the survey. Out of the 74 countries, India participated. Do you know what India's rank was? Can anybody guess? Those who know, please explain yourself. And those who are not aware, just make a guess. Make a guess. Your imagination or your perception of what Indian education is like. What likely rank out of 74 countries? India was 73rd. It was actually 7th. There were two states surveyed. Became respectively second, 72nd and 73rd. Luckily, there was a country called Kyrgyzstan. You could understand this? No, the Kuman country was it. Customer and Soviet Republic of Central Asia was a small country. Ordinary government is 74th rank. And the two states that we asked them to survey were relatively the best states in India. We chose Tamil Nadu and Himachal because the government felt the outcomes in Tamil Nadu and Himachal are the best in India. Nothing wrong. Any country wants to showcase its best. But our best is 72nd, 73rd. These are useless because they taught garbage. So if you simply improve outcomes, even government surveys, there is a survey called Assar survey. The first Assar survey report I released in Delhi along with Monte Singh Agarwal. That's the Army Commission Deputy Chairman. We had released that. Since then I have been following every year Assar. In fact, Lok Sabha teams also participate in those surveys. Every year they let such painful reading. Such painful reading. Assar is a very crude survey, unlike PISA, which is a sophisticated survey. Assar is a very crude survey, but honest survey. Assar, can you read a sentence? Can you read a second grade level para if you are in 8th grade? Can you do a simple subtraction of 2-digit number from 2-digit number? Can you do a simple division of a 3-digit? Very crude survey. Even in this crude survey, in 8th grade and 10th grade, results are appallingly bad. Appallingly bad. Then some years ago, they started surveying some basic life skills. You know, they discovered in rural Telangana, 50% of youngsters could not look at the watch and read time. 50%. At the age of 14 to 18. 70% right now my watch shows 20 minutes past 12. They're able to say 70-80%, 12 are not. 20 minutes past 12, only 50%. In 21st century, in this decade, they can't read time. More than 50% cannot put the appropriate grades to measure. Market of Korea, 1 kg and another, they don't know what ways to put for 2.5 kgs. Between 40 and 50. There is a deep tragedy available in this country. We are pretending that there is good education. It's a disaster. Schools like yours, you account for this 15-20% kids. Whether middle classes, so we and what Kantapadi, double a school, admission cost, demand supply, rapidly, what you call it, like a several efforts at the school admission cost on union school application. I think the application, the application. So we simply measure outcomes. First, define outcomes sensibly and measure them properly. I am betting the whole ecosystem, the schools, management, the teachers, the students, the parents, everybody involved, because what counts is success. If success is measured in third-rate marks and grading, that's what they are seeking. If success is measured by PISA like tests, they want their children to do well too. Or even object to the better word. How do you blame them? When we failed, the parents are not failing, it's easy to blame them. It's like blaming the world for the faults of the leaders. What is the victim? You cannot unify the victim. It's the poor voter who is taking money and voting is the victim. Why is he taking money? What are the conditions that make it happen? How do we change it? That is the way forward. Similarly, it's not the parents who are guilty or the kids who are guilty. It is those who design the system. A simple intervention of examinations properly conducted, properly measured, will change everything. And it's not mere talk. A lot of my time and energy these days are about designing very high quality digital testing, genuine testing, the kind of things that you expect to learn, and then remediation tools using technology again. Because I believe there are many things to be done. Teacher training, it's all about learning. But even if you don't know children or why did you not do in the past 50, 60 years? Without changing the outcome, without measuring the outcome better, defining it well, you can never improve education on a vast scale, because there are 270 million kids in schools in India. Here we have a report of them. I separate just the school kids alone will become one of the largest nations on earth. It's a vast system. You can't change it by this circular, that order, this teacher functioning better. There are 1 crore teachers in India. So you have to alter the incentive. You have to measure the outcome. You have to define the outcome much more intelligently. And we are doing a lot of work. I am actually putting a lot of resources into that. And the organization that is helping spelling bee in the United States for Indian kids, NSF, they are working with me to design this tool in India. And then we want to work with many people all over. There are wonderful people now deeply committed to school. Otherwise, all of them, they didn't understand what is the problem. But now, very fine minds are at work across the country. Very few in government, unfortunately, but in non-profit sector, some even in the profit sector, many people are now trying to intervene intelligently. So we all have to pool our resources, work together, build synergies, and make a big enough impact, because it's a humongous problem. It's not one school, it's not a few kids, it's 27 crore kids. But I'm optimistic. All of us have to pitch in. We all have to work together. But understand the nature of the crisis. Those questions. Understand the processes, understand how to order the incentives, how to change the outcomes, and bring about the quality of education. It will not become overnight number one. If you are 73rd, 72nd, number one is the Utti Karigana Sabjana Karigana. 73rd is 60 quarter. 50, 40, 20 and content. You know which are the countries which rank tops in that particular survey? No. Many people say Finland, and of course a good education. China. They said Shanghai China, or Shanghai China is survey. Consistently, China ranks in the top, somewhere in the top 3 or 5. So you don't have to be super rich as a country. It's a certain Gucci. It's because of people like me, mostly me. Last 20, 2009. But I was mentioning everywhere, on every public occasion. So at least some people got it. I hope that the policymakers will understand what is the problem and try to figure out and say, you know what the response of the government was? They said, henceforth, India will not participate in peace process. 2009 was the last survey, the only survey in which participated. After that, I don't have data. I have other data, I have asset data, I have national achievement survey data, I have no global data, global comparison not there. So, data of the matter. How can this be a solution to the problem? But the social never boarded a train in their lives until that time. First time they go to Chennai, go to charter flight, go to Malaysia or Manila, Philippines. Do at that time whatever exam was ECFMD or ECFMD examination. Within 6 months they wrote a law. That is the norm. Many of them, particularly those who went to Qatar and gave us access to healthcare which was unthinkable 20-30 years ago. And Vajpayee had his knee surgery done, knee replacement done. He was the first in India to do. A British expert team came to Mumbai and they did that. Today, Hyderabad alone, we do 200 knee transplants a day. Because they learned, they brought those things. So I don't think going abroad is depleting India necessarily. There are two ways of addressing this problem. How are you feeling the depletion? Why do we have to raise this question at all in the first place? Because we feel we are losing some of our best brains to those countries. Actually, the number is very small relative to the number of kids here. Every year, 1 crore 30 lakh youngsters are joining the job market of India. 13 million people. The number of people going to America here are probably no more than a few tens of thousands. But we feel the depletion. Why? Because we are not harnessing the human potential of the country. These 1 crore 30 lakh children actually have fulfilled their potential in significant measure. They require true education, not degrees and a piece of paper, but true education and acquired skills. Then if 1 or 2% of them go away for some time or permanently, it's not a big loss. But we are only developing the minds of a very small proportion. If you take engineering, out of 15 lakh kids going to engineering colleges in India, the number may be a little less or more because many colleges are closing down. 85% know nothing of engineering, they have a degree. ఇంట్లో కారు కానీ స్కూటర్ కానీ చూడన్నా మెకానికల్ ఇంజనీర్ చేసిన అడిగితే ఏదో పబ్లిక్ కోసం చెప్పండి వాడికి ఏదో అడ్డం చేస్తాడు ఇల్లిటెడ్ మెకానికల్ తీసుకోవాలి తీసుకువెళ్ళి మెకానికల్ ఇంజనీర్ he goes to illiterate mechanic because there is zero. That is the challenge. If most of our education actually yields the dividends, they get what they are supposed to get out of education. If some of them go abroad, it's a good thing for the country. You must be exposed to the rest of it. India will not feel depleted. I keep saying brain is better than brain in the brain. So the challenge is how do you enhance the human potential or fulfill the human potential in this country, in a country where every parent is willing to sacrifice. Our drive is the driver, Jayapalan put the driver. The driver not that. What are most of the people not able to figure out? India that have a driver, 70,000 rupees per year school fee is not a joke. It's not a joke. In which other country do you see the poorest of the people spending so much money disproportionate to their income with the hope that the children get a chance? What is happening is a monumental tragedy here. If the potential of most of the children, all the children is realized reasonably well, then this question will not arise. The second thing is, as the economy grows, as opportunities multiply in this country, I think more government is trying to stay and the people take up also. Even in software, lots of people went there and many people are coming back because they see opportunities. So it's not the great talk of patriotism. I don't think it influences beyond the point. Let's actually correct our mistakes, give more opportunities. Already they happen. Wherever such opportunities exist, they can earn better, they can have better satisfaction, and there is a better community life here. You feel more secure. There are also many people are coming back. So we have to keep doing that better and better, but do not discourage people from doing it wrong. Focus on one around. You know, in the 14th centuries, there was a Ming emperor. There was a fellow called Chen He. He was the admiral in China. China had the biggest navy in those days, the longest 400 feet long ships, the biggest ships in those days. He navigated all the known oceans at that time. They only knew Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean. They did not even know that time. So all that part, Asia up to Africa, he all went. After he came back, the king felicitated him, but then banned further navigation. మన హిందూ సాంప్రదాయంలో సత్యనారాయణ సంఘటన they stopped. The nation simply went down. If you're not in communication with the rest of the world, if you're not exposed to the rest of the world, there's no intermingling of ideas. We will lose big time. That is the biggest reason why Akbar was one of the greatest emperors of all time. But just as Europe was beginning to understand this, people like Akbar or the Ottomans or the Chinese Ming Empire, they all messed up. By not interacting with the rest of the world, by not learning, by not getting the best. So, don't be xenophobic. Let's figure out how to fulfill human potential in this country through better education, better skills, and create opportunities and make our country more and more attractive. But let also some of us go abroad and pick up the skills and the knowledge and ideas and the management practices and bring them back. Because the world is not anybody's credit, but it's our just as it's our country, we should not leave the rest of the world alone. We have to conquer as much as we can through the mind and through professionalism, not through arms and